What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Next Win podcast with your host, Aunt Ma, co host Justin Vaseur, and special guest, Mr. Bryan Pham, co
Meow, meow,
founder of
meow.
Asian Hustle Network. Thank you, Bryan, for being here.
Happy to be here.
Dude, I've learned a lot in the last few episodes from you, and I kind of want to learn a little bit more about how this big company became what it is, right? And because I think what's fascinating is how fast it grew. And so even, I want to back it up way before all of that. There's a point in time in your life when you are probably going through something, right? And so I'm trying to figure out, or I want to know, what was going on in your life when you thought you needed an Asian hustle network or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't what I personally needed in my life. I was just thinking about to what was missing in our community, right? And I just kept thinking back to, so my roommate back in college was Jewish, and I saw how close knit the Jewish community was, and I was really inspired by that. And it's funny because he asked me like, "Isn't the Asian community just as tight?" And I would just chuckle. I was like, no, like we hate each other, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Like the thing that we always see at the time was there's no one that hates the Asian community more than the Asian community, right? And we're so divided. So during that time of my life, I was in a really good position because my real estate business was taking off. I started looking and hedging myself into purchasing long-term properties like apartments, right? Multi-units, starting doing pretty well. And it's crazy because I think once you're able to take care of your immediate needs, your mind kind of opens up to what can I do to help other people, right? I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds cliche, but that was literally on my mind, like when I was creating Asian Hustle Network with the intention of like, what can I do to like help the community advance forward, right? And to go deeper into that, like it wasn't until I went on a trip with my co-founder Maggie, right? My co-founder Asian Hustle Network to Japan that I realized that the biggest factor in bringing together a community is storytelling. When you're able to share your story and understand that we're not different from each other, that's when we set aside our differences and really like put our heads together and work together, right? I think at the time, and I just remember back to my experience in real estate where whenever I ran into trouble, like my partners who are like Taiwanese or Korean, they can always rely on like the Taiwanese community or the Korean community or myself, the Vietnamese community to help me or help us out. But why is it only pertaining to a person's race? What if like we all help each other and not just say I'm Vietnamese, I'm Korean, Chinese, whatever. I'm just Asian American or I'm just a person, right? How do we get people to put aside our differences and work together from that standpoint was sort of became my mission, right? I was at the point in my life where it sounds really weird and arrogant in some ways, where I felt like money was no longer the most important thing to me, right? And
Mhm.
when money was no longer important, you kind of just go through the motions of just making money, and it's not as fun or as thrilling. It didn't give me purpose, right? I was seeking purpose at the time, up to the point where I literally was soul searching. I was borderline depressed.
Oh, no.
Right. I needed to like have a bigger purpose in life of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to see happen. And that was the Asian community. I think a large factor of it, as Anthony mentioned, is that we grew up in the 626. Right. We've seen the ups and downs, the fragmentations, we've seen the community so divided, so angry, so much hatred. We're like, okay, I want to do something about this. And that became my focus.
So you were talking about how you and your co-founder Maggie went on this trip to Japan.
Yeah.
What happened on the trip to made you think that this was needed?
Yeah, yeah. So we went to the Meiji Shrine, which is
Okay.
a temple in Tokyo. And then during that trip, we saw people write their stories on wooden tablets on the wall and hang it up.
What kind of stories were on there?
It was everything from I just graduated high school, I don't know where my life is going, I just fought cancer, I just got cancer, My parents just passed away. It's just all over the
Wow.
range.
Yeah.
And then I found myself really captivated by these stranger stories.
Yeah.
Right, I spent like 2 3 hours, Maggie as well, just reading everyone's story because it was so relatable.
And were these all Japanese people writing it?
It is a mixture,
Just people from
right?
all over the world, like
All over,
tourists.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. People are like, oh, I'm from Paris. I'm from whatever
Yeah.
country, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so like, wow, like I don't even know these people. But yeah, I'm so enthralled by their story, and you kind of, you chuckle a little bit as you're reading it. Oh, like I just graduated high school. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of brings back those memories, and it's like I just fought cancer. You're like, oh, here I am, like depressed for no reason. This person just
Uh,
fought cancer. You feel like a jerk, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of became like the foundation of AHN, and I knew how powerful storytelling was from the way that I felt it firsthand. And immediately, like we pulled out our phones and we like took a picture. We wrote a note. Like we wanted this is gonna be the basis of anything we built in the future. And we didn't know like what the community would be like yet, but we knew that it would be built around storytelling first.
I think what's key to that moment was you guys actually taking it all in by taking that photo and writing it down.
Yeah,
Because right there, no one does that. They're gonna be like, wow, this, you know what? I just thought of a really great idea. I'm motivated, I'm inspirational. When I get back from this trip, I'm gonna do this.
yeah,
Without that photo and writing it down. And then
yeah,
when they get home, do they ever do that? I mean, they try sometimes and it
Yeah.
fails. And I think that's so key that you did that.
yeah. That's my real estate habit at that point. Right. That's why I learned from real estate where it's oh no, the sink is broken. Gotta take a picture and write a note so I can know what model to buy at the Home Depot later.
Mm,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Thank you, real estate. Yeah.
So then from that moment, from that picture and all that stuff, what
Yeah.
was like the first initial thing that got everything moving?
Yeah. So we had to decide what medium to start off with. Right. We looked around. We're like, should we start Instagram first? Should we start Twitter first? Like, what is the rage right now? And this is during the time where subtle Asian traits was popping off. Right? Facebook group was popping off. We're like, okay, we gotta start a Facebook group. Why? Because it allows people to interact freely and share their stories freely without much moderation. Right? So that sort of became like the first thing we focus on is like, okay, what makes it easiest for us to implement this idea where we don't know or if we don't know for sure it's gonna work or not.
Mm-hmm.
I love listening to this part of your stories because for me, whenever I try to start a business, and I would say the last 15 years of my life, I've been wanting to start a nonprofit on how to help people, right? And I haven't gotten to that point yet because I never figured out what is that thing I want to do to help people, right? Whether it's like kids with no parents or families, homeless, just anything, right? And so hearing that you took the organization straight to a Facebook group to social media is so out of the box thinking. Because most people, when they want to start a business and help someone, they legit start an LLC, then they start, marketing for it and whatever. It's an actual business and company. But you went straight to Facebook. Like
Yeah.
that was so simple, makes so much sense and smart, but no one ever thinks of that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
I think it's where I got most of it from my software engineering background. We have something called MVP model, minimal viable product, which means just get out your idea as fast as and simple as possible and kind of test to see if it works, right? Because the worst thing you can do is waste your time,
Mm-hmm.
and time is valuable. So put it out there, whether or not it's perfected or not, whether or not it's good or not, kind of see the reaction and revise from there.
Mm.
Yeah.
My God, I am so inspired right now.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I'm about to test a bunch of stuff
Yeah,
right
yeah, we're gonna go on
I'm just
Facebook
kidding.
right after this.
No, but that is pretty interesting that you went to Facebook, because
Yeah.
like at least for me, I feel like Facebook is where a lot of older people hang out, kind of thing. So I'm just curious, like why Facebook? Why was
Yeah.
it like Instagram seems to be where everybody's hanging out. Things like
Yeah.
Snapchat or Instagram or maybe even Twitter, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But Facebook is like where my grandpa hangs out.
I mean, Facebook now, it's much different from Facebook 4 years ago,
Ah, I see. Okay.
Really?
right?
I feel like 4 years ago was still the same. I still didn't use it much 4 years ago. I've already kind of stopped. Once Instagram
Yeah,
came, I already stopped Facebook.
yeah, I know what you mean. But we kind of capitalized on like the Facebook group momentum. Subtle Asian trades are like hitting like 1 or 2 million pretty fast within 6 months. So like, okay, let's just follow the trend,
Yeah.
right? No need to reinvent the wheel or make things harder for ourselves. Let's follow what works, and then from there, branch out strategically and as fast as possible because nothing's ever guaranteed, right? With my software engineering background, I've seen countless friends who started companies on other people's platforms that ultimately failed, right? And we're seeing that right now with Reddit, right? Reddit started charging, these third party people absurd amount of monthly fees, and companies are dying. And they have like a protest right now,
Mm,
right? And I've seen that happen not just recently, but I've seen like 4 or 5 years ago, where people built like Facebook gaming platforms. They got screwed over by Apple, screwed over by Facebook. And that's why I was like, okay, we gotta branch over to something that we can control, which is
mm,
the website. Yeah,
mm,
I feel like also it was such a good idea because, like Justin was saying, his grandpa and older people are the ones on Facebook,
yeah,
but yet these are the people who have all the time in the world to tell their stories, to listen to stories, to read them. So it's like Asian Hustle Network has no age. There's no age limits, right?
yeah,
And I think when it first started, when I first saw, pictures of the people at the events, I did see older people actually,
yeah,
very successful people who are been doing something for so long here to talk about themselves. So, these are people with like they've done real estate for 10 years or they've done another business for 10 years. So, yeah, they probably are older people to where they're not doing owner operated things anymore. Or there are the older people like my parents who would, you know, will take the time to talk about some history for a little bit.
yeah,
So, Facebook is the perfect place for storytelling. You don't really tell stories on Instagram. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's just quick pictures. Now it gets even faster ever since TikTok came out, right?
yeah.
You're just doing like two dance moves and that's it. It's
I
like
gotta
no
learn how to
storytelling.
dance. I still haven't learned how to dance yet.
Still haven't
Okay.
learned how to dance yet.
Maybe we'll do one for our Instagram.
Oh boy.
Bust out the moves. So this is now like international, right?
Yeah, yeah. We have events at this point in 7 or 8 different countries now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a question I have for you. Asian Hustle Network, right?
Yeah.
Keyword Asian,
Yes.
right? And you hold events in Las Vegas, LA, Seattle, all across the United States,
Yeah.
right? Because we're Asian American and we're trying to help each other. So you're trying to build that community.
Yeah.
Now that you're international and you're going to like, Singapore and Thailand and just all these and Vietnam,
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, wait, why are you going to Asia when they're full of Asians? Aren't they already connected? So how does this community in America work in Asia with Asians?
Yeah. That's a great question. That's something that we thought about a lot. I think the Asian community is very isolated in America, where when I'm back here, I feel it myself where you don't really know what's going on around the world. Right? I'm not sure if it's an Asian American thing or not. We just are oblivious to the world, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that there's a lot of misconceptions about Asians in Asia. Like as Asian Americans, sometimes we think we're better. Sometimes we think we're more privileged. But I want to like level out the playing field a bit and really connect the world together, right? Because I feel like there's so much resources, investments, opportunities that if we are able to connect the Asians around the world together, we can unlock the next level of potentials for the Asian community, right? That's what I think about all the time. And the same problem exists in Asia. So basically, whenever we're in a country, we have events, everyone kind of sticks to like their own country and they never refer to themselves to Asians, right? So at first, we thought that our target audience in Asia are Asians that, don't speak English and it's okay. Then we realized that quickly that won't work. We found a new sub audience to cater to. So basically, they are third culture kids, and what that means is they went to international schools in their own country. they went to college in like the UK, US, Australia, and they come back to their country and they're perfect English speakers, right? But then they don't have a community out there
Mm.
that they could come to for help or relate to, because when they come back, they're just kind of conflicted in some ways because they are Asian. They're born in Asia. They're born in their country, but yet they have a lot of Western thoughts, Western knowledge. They don't want to work for a traditional Asian company. And if you guys didn't know, like Asian companies, it's different from American companies,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
The work culture is different. It's harsher. They kind of expect you to like do everything, almost like serve like a master or a king in some way.
Mm.
And having some Western philosophies that doesn't serve well. So the biggest thing that we're trying to solve right now, it's like, how do we allow Asian Americans, Asian Australians, Asian Canadians to like come in, create more companies in these countries, leverage the workforce, evolve the country, evolve the people, hire them, and not just that. How do we help these Asians in Asia become entrepreneurs through the knowledge? Because as we are branching out there, there's a lot of missing structures, right? The mentality is not quite there yet, depending which country you go to. Some companies like Singapore or whatnot are super developed, right? They
Mm.
understand as a founder, you get your investments, you grow your company, and then you seek an exit during an IPO or an acquisition. When you go to a developing country like Vietnam, for example, the mentality is a little bit different because they want to start a company, do really well, but then you have to keep in mind that Vietnam is going through the first investment cycle right now. And what does that mean? It means that Vietnam has only had like one or two IPO in the history of the country, which it's relatively new. The whole idea of startups is really new. So our goal right now, it's like, how do we get more people to shed that scarcity mentality? Right now, it's literally like a wild west out there. It's like winner takes all. To like think about IPOs, think about acquisitions, think about like you can do big things too. And looking at the pace in Asia right now, the adoption rate is like super fast, right? Like credit card payments only occurred in Vietnam 2 years ago, but now it's everywhere,
Oh wow.
right? And like we go to like the subway system in Korea or like Japan or something or Singapore, it's eons ahead of America,
Mm.
right? And it's like, okay, how do we get Asian Americans to stop thinking we're the best, to finally open up and reconnect with our own heritage and find a way that we build an ecosystem where that we truly stay close to our mission. Asian Hustle Network is a super connector of Asian entrepreneurs around the world, right? How do we find that bridge that connects everybody? Is our next goal.
Yeah, I see a big difference between us in America and the ones in Asia. I mean, basically, everyone that's here in America, they're like, how do I do this? How do I get there? Because they all have the vision themselves already on what they want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Asia, you're trying to find the people and teach them this is what needs to happen in Vietnam. This is
Mm.
what needs to happen in, these Asian countries.
Yeah.
And I do have those handful of friends from high school who immediately left America and went to live in Hong Kong, Thailand, things like that.
Yeah.
And they've stayed there since high school. And they're perfectly, American speaking, born here in America. They just
Yeah.
chose not to live here anymore for some reason.
Yeah.
And all those people are out there. And those are the ones that I think is a niche for Asian Hustle Network,
Yeah.
Mm.
right? And
That's
that's
right.
just my Asian American friends. You got the Asian Canadians, Asian Australians,
Yeah.
the ones from Europe, just everywhere.
Yeah. And also the Asians in Asia that went to international schools,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And don't underestimate anybody. That's my new mentality. Like there's super smart, talented people everywhere, right? Just because your upbringing is slightly different doesn't mean you're better or worse than anybody. We're all human beings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the talent, the conversations, the intellectual discussions, the idea exchanges. I would say that no matter where I went, I was always really blown away by the people, right? It doesn't matter if I was in Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, whoever. They know a lot more about business and how the world works than most average Asian Americans or most average Americans in general.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I learned from this episode is that don't judge anybody because
Yeah.
everybody has something special that you can learn from, And I'm guilty of this because growing up, I'm around a lot of Asian gangs and things like that. So yeah, you're judging off the bat, right? You're like, look at this fool. Where's this fool from? Let's go bang on him, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. So it's like I've gotten better at not judging people. Obviously, a little bit still here and there once in a long while, but for the most part, that's all gone.
Yeah.
And so, just for everyone out there that's listening and watching, please do not judge anybody anymore. Even on social media, we see people always comment negative things on social media.
Yeah.
Stop. You guys know nothing about this person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Don't judge. For all you know, you can be their friend and they're going to teach you something so valuable in your life that you didn't know you were missing. Thank you, Bryan, for being here today on this episode. I really enjoyed this. Make sure you guys follow him. You'll see everything in the description box. And make sure to check us out on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So until next time, guys.